Welcome back to the Eye in the Sky. And yes, it's Packer Week, my favorite game of the season. If I could win one game per year as a player, as a coach, or even now as an announcer, it's the one where you get to go into Lambeau Field and upset some Green Bay fans. Now, I know what you're thinking, Coach. This is going to be a tough one. Packers 6-3-1, the Vikings 4-6. The Packers have the number 6 rated defense in the entire NFL, 7th in scoring. They're doing a great job. How are we going to go in there and get something done? Well, let me give you a little bit of a nugget, and that nugget is in the form of J.J. McCarthy. After all, we Viking fans, we need something to hold on to, and I think I got it right here. Let's take a look at J.J. McCarthy on the road versus when he's at home. So on the road, he's 2-0. He's undefeated on the road. You want to take a look at passer rating. At home, he's a 47.7, but on the road, 90.6. That's a 44-point swing from being at home versus on the road. How about touchdowns? In 2 games on the road, 4 touchdown passes. At home, 3 games, only 2. So he throws more than twice as many on the road as he does at home. And then how about the interceptions? Because those are a big problem. He's only thrown 2 on the road, 6 in the 3 home games that he's been to. So maybe J.J. McCarthy on the road can take us into Lambeau Field and we could come away with a big victory like we did in 98 when the Packers had a 25-game home winning streak, or 2004, go into Lambeau Field as huge underdogs in a wild card playoff game and come away victors there. How about last year going to Lambeau Field? Well, in order for the Vikings to win, we need to take a deep look at this Packer team. Let's go through the film, and I'll show you exactly where the Vikings might have some hope and what they need to do to get a victory in Lambeau Field. What stands out the most from last week's game is just what Christian Watson has been able to do. And we haven't seen a ton of him due to injury and a number of other things. But the Vikings defensive back's going to have to really account for him on every play. And this is what the Packers want to do with him right here. This is a perfect example. They get him up on the line of scrimmage, and they know they're getting man-to-man. Now, what'll end up happening is they're going to run a quick switch route, and they're going to let Watson do what he does best, and that's run the fade. And the beauty of it is when you can run a fade from between the hash marks and the numbers, you've got a lot of room up top, all right? They're going to take this other route here and run him underneath and give Watson a lot of space. They know they got man-to-man, so Jordan Love takes this snap, heaves this thing deep, and it's just perfectly thrown football, but just isn't brought in by Watson. But he does more here in a few seconds. All right, so we know they like Watson on the deep routes and on the fades, but also the deep overs. And this is really good play design, and I think it also shows how Jordan Love is matured as a passer. As they send Wicks in motion across, they see what the safeties do. One safety steps down, the other one goes back to the deep middle. So they know that they got a bunch of giant defenders right here on the line of scrimmage. They're bucking up for the run. Look at this. You got a bunch of the Packers offense, but look at it. You have a number of Giants, DBs, safeties, linebackers. They're all in the box. What the Packers are going to want to do in this situation is play fake, right? And as Love gets to the top of his drop, you can see the problem that the Giants are having, okay? Their defenders are all down here, and the back end of this field, especially this deep over, is wide open. I mean, this is pretty simple throw and catch for Jordan Love. Beautiful throw right on the money. Watson comes down with the catch. So getting him down the field is imperative to their offense, and he's really good. And finally, one of the more impressive catches that Watson has made, that I've seen Christian Watson make, is this one right here. But again, Jordan Love putting everybody in the right position. A lot transpires on this play, and I think it's pretty fascinating. As Jordan gets up in the line of scrimmage, because of who's covering where, okay? He knows that this is a safety outside of a cornerback right here. They only do that. Defenses only do this if it's man-to-man. So Jordan Love says, all right, I've got man-to-man. He walks up, makes his check. You can see the 2 hands on the face. And then down here, right, see Watson, 2 hands on the face, tight end out here. They're all checking. They know what they're going to get. And when you get man-to-man in this situation with a single high safety, there's a spot on the field that's wide open, and that is this part, way back over here. And we do this all the time. And what all the Packers are going to do here is run a little smash route by the tight end to hold the safety because they know it's man-to-man. And again, let Watson get deep and get outside. Now, the critical mistake is that this DB needs to stay inside on Watson, or outside of him, on the slot. But Watson is just getting too wide. There's nothing he can do. And look at Jordan Love is already throwing this football. He knew it before the ball was even snapped. And I'm throwing this thing to a spot in the back corner of the end zone. 3 giant defenders around him. Beautiful back shoulder throw. And Watson comes down with the touchdown catch. So if by alignment you give away what you're doing, man, zone, whatever, they're going to find a way to get deep. They're going to probably do it with Christian Watson. One of the things I've noticed about Jordan Love as a passer is how much he's improved when on the move. Back in the day, I think it was get him off his spot, get him moving. I don't know if that's the case anymore, and I've got a lot of proof in this game against the Giants that may say differently, okay? So this first play, Jordan Love, this is just a program rollout, okay? He's taking the snap, and it's a dash. So he takes one step and then rolls out to his right. He's trying to get over here to this side. He has an outlet with the running back, a couple routes up high that kind of get knocked off. But what Jordan Love does is he sees this defender right here, who's doing actually a pretty good job. Watch this, puts his foot in the ground, steps up, and now he has an option down the field, and that's his deep crossing route. This is the outlet. This is not the priority. This is kind of maybe a throwback play if you can get there. But Jordan, with his legs, keeps things alive, gets the pass off. Now it's dropped ultimately. I saw 3 games over the weekend. I saw the Vikings and the Bears, got to see the Lions play the Eagles, and then this one, and there had to have been at least 35 drops between DBs and wide receivers in these 3 games. Now, a couple of them were outside. I know it was windy, but my heavens, I don't know what's going on in the NFL, but a lot of people weren't catching. In this case here, a beautiful play by the quarterback becomes an incompletion on 3rd down, by the way. All right, this play is going to look a lot like the one that we saw earlier, the deep over by Christian Watson, but it's going to end up quite differently. And if not for Jordan Love and his ability to move, this play would have been dead. Okay, so you get the quick motion right at the snap. This is the exact same formation that we saw earlier when Watson ran the deep over down the field. Okay, it ends up being completely different. You get the play fake. Love gets the top of his drop. You see Watson working his way across the field, but this time he's got a linebacker kind of underneath. There's really nowhere right now for Jordan Love to go. He definitely can't get the ball down here. As this guy, he's triangulated. He's got a linebacker, safety over the top, corner down here. There's absolutely nowhere for Love to go with this football. So what does he do? Keeps those legs moving, right? Starts widening out away to the sideline, and watch what happens down here at the bottom with the wide receiver. Okay. The receiver sees the scramble and he says, all right, I'm just going to pivot, turn this thing down the field. So a play that was nothing. Jordan Love here scrambling, keeping his eyes downfield. Now all of a sudden you've got a wide open receiver by the sideline, and this is an easy throw and catch. So a play that was technically covered like a blanket ends up being a 1st down. Another example of Jordan Love with his legs. This is a 1st and 20 type situation. They're going to keep it basic. You can kind of see and get a feel for the Giants here. They kind of got this umbrella thing going with the linebackers underneath, a couple deep safeties. Probably going to let anything go underneath. So once Jordan gets a snap, top of his drop, you can see down here at the bottom, Dobbs just curled up. You could throw this football right here, get 4 or 5 yards. But because of the space that's provided, Jordan Love says, I'm going to take this thing downfield. And the smart thing is he's running directly at this underneath coverage guy, the linebacker. Why? Because this linebacker now is put in no man's land. If he steps up to make this play, he's going to open up an area behind him. And Dobbs, I believe in this case, does a great job of doing what? whipping his head around and then working to the open area on the defense. Love, he's stepping up, but he's not scrambling. He's looking down the field, keeping his eyes down the field, which is what he's doing so much better. And by running at the defender, he opens this thing up and it ends up being a 12, 13-yard gain, getting you back to 2nd and 7 instead of being 2nd and 15. So again, smart scramble, eyes down the field. Jordan Love has gotten a lot better when he's on the move. And one of the biggest stories of this game is whether or not Josh Jacobs is going to play. And Josh Jacobs is so important to this team as a runner. He's responsible for 39.3% of the Packers offense, which is tied, I think, for third most in the entire NFL. And what does it mean to Jordan Love? Well, Jordan Love has 10 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions with Jacobs on the field, only 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions when Jacobs is not on the field. So either way, you've got to deal with a pretty creative run game and a pretty good front. And this is I think an awesome example. This is why I love film, because of the nuances of this play and what makes it successful. Okay. So Willis is at quarterback, and what we're seeing here is some jet motion. You're getting a wide receiver running across, and there's going to be a fake on the jet sweep. What that does is it holds this linebacker just for a second on the snap. And that matters. Why? Because these guys up front are all going to their right. You're going to get a beautiful reach block to this cocked nose, which is almost impossible to do. And then you're going to get a double team out here on Dexter Lawrence, and they're going to push Lawrence all the way out of his gap this way for an easy 5 to 8, or I think it's a 9-yard gain right here. But it's a combination of all of that. So as this ball snapped, see that linebacker, how this guy here, he just widens himself out and he's paused and he's already going to be late. He can no longer hit this cutback gap. He's too far behind because of what this motion did. Now, once the running back gets his handoff, there it is. There's the reach block right here. Beautiful job cutting off that lineman. And look at this double team over here on Dexter Lawrence. This is just a huge run. You get a great job by a wide receiver coming down to block down on the safety. And now you've got something going. And this ends up being a really big run for the Green Bay Packers. So regardless if Jacobs is in the game or not, you're going to get some really creative running. And that offensive line, they're pretty good up front. Another example of creativity in the running game, this one is another one that's absolutely fantastic. What the Packers are going to do is they're going to pull this guard, all right, and kick him out this way. And they do that because they know this linebacker is reading this guard. If this guard pulls, then this linebacker is going to go with him. Now, along with the guard, they're going to start this tight end to be moving right to about here, but then he's going to pirouette himself back out, and this play is going to end up going all the way outside. It's an amazing play design. A lot of good blocks on the front side of this thing by the wide receivers right here and right here to make sure that no one gets in the backfield and penetrates it. But a little back motion, you get the fake handoff down, block, and this guard up on top. It's because of the pulling guard, this linebacker has to go this way. And only because of that does that allow this tackle to loop his way in and actually cut him off. So they're using just disguise and pulls and all these other things to get the defenders out of their spots. Look at this. So at 63, he's got him reached. Now the tight end did his pirouette and he's out one-on-one with a defensive back. That's a block he's going to make. And here we go. Now we get, first down and then some. So regardless if Jacobs is in the backfield, these Packers have a very creative running game and they execute it very well. All right, we've seen some kind of misdirection, trick kind of plays. Well, this is old school football right here, okay? They bring Watson back inside the tight end, and at the snap of the football, this is just red zone football right here, man. This is the center. Going to turn out Dexter Lawrence. Not an easy thing to do. But watch this double team at the point of attack between the guard and the tackle. They'll take this defensive tackle right here and just move them, and they stay on this thing. Okay. So the ball snapped, boom, you've got that double team right there. They are working as a double team up to this linebacker. So one of these two, whichever way that linebacker goes, is going to come off and take him. But if you can move this defensive lineman into the lap of the linebacker, then the linebacker can't get over the top. He can't get there. So, boom, look at that. They're still pushing him down. Jacobs is such a good north and south runner. He didn't bounce this thing outside. He kept it right here behind the double team, and he's going to eventually work his way off the backside of it, keeps his legs churning in for the touchdown. So that was an impressive double team at the point. All right, so where do the Vikings have some opportunities? Well, if Josh Jacobs isn't in there, just imagine yourself as Brian Flores. You're in a dark room watching film and you see this. We already know that he loves to walk these linebackers up into these A gaps and then make the running back pass protect. Now, watch Emmanuel Wilson on this play, okay? This is going to be a play fake. He needs to step up and block. Watch what he does. Play fake, and then, I think I'm just going to get out of the way and, not let anything. Yeah, you got to see it again, right? You get the play fake. Dexter Lawrence is right there. He kind of gives them the Ole look out, and then the pass falls incomplete. Let me tell you this. Brian Flores sees this kind of protection. He is going to blitz the middle of this offense. All right, now we get to the Packers defense, and this is a great group. They're doing a great job this year. 6th ranked overall. They're 7th in the league in points. The big addition, as we all know, is this guy right here, Micah Parsons. Now, bringing in Parsons has changed this front actually more than you think. They've gone to more of a 4-3 style of front than a 5-man front like we saw in years past. Why? Because Micah Parsons is really a true 4-3 defensive end. You can't put him outside as a stand-up linebacker, and you really can't put him as a 3 technique. He doesn't have that kind of size. So you're going to see a lot more of the linebackers, Edger and Cooper. You're going to see a lot more of Quay Walker and Isaiah McDuffie in coverage. And I think this has been kind of a thorn in the side. The Packers, as good as they are doing so many things, I don't think dropping in zone is their best bet. And there are a lot of opportunities for the Vikings offense. What do I mean? Okay, this is just plain old cover 2. Okay, you have 2 deep safeties. You got one guy over here playing the half right here, and then you have another one over here. But watch Quay Walker in the middle. He needs to defend the middle of this field, right? This area right here. Now he has to relate to the receivers as they get wider, but they give him the old something shallow, something deep. So as the quarterback's at the top of his drop and he's getting ready to throw, Walker's got his eyes on the underneath guy, the short guy. And Jack Del Rio would always say, don't bite the cheese, something shallow, something deep. What he doesn't realize is he's got this dig coming in behind him, and look at all of this space in the middle of this defense. So if we can get these linebackers off their spots, there's opportunities. That's a huge throw right in between the hash marks. Easiest one for a quarterback to make. They just don't relate to receivers very well. Here's another example of what I'm talking about, okay? This is a middle closed look, right? You have a safety right here in the middle of the field, so this is some type of 4 under 3 deep. Watch this as quarterback gets to the top of his drop. Again, what are we seeing? We're seeing the linebackers, the underneath coverage, they have their eyes all over these short routes. And what they don't see is this crossing route coming here, and then this guy coming this way. This is a great route against man-to-man, but also notice behind them, they don't really have a plan for the corners and for the safeties to say, okay, which one of you guys is going to take this one underneath crosser, and then I'll take the other crosser who's coming from that side of the field and just pass those things off. There's just too much of a cushion. And as this play goes on, quarterback's throwing the football, they got the short route covered, okay? The problem is is this area back here that's wide open. Remember that you need to throw about 6 of these to equal one of these. And in this case, it's an easy throw and catch. The middle safety is a little bit too deep and able to get that underneath. So again, there's some holes in these zones, and hopefully McCarthy will be able to take advantage of them. All right, another unique way the Giants use to attack this, going to 2-back, going to slot, and all they're doing is running a clear route, like a second through the zone with this receiver, and then they'll run this guy up on the numbers and then curl him right inside. And you'll see as a quarterback, top of his drop, he's set. You've got McDuffie right here, who doesn't have anything underneath taken away or for him to jump, nothing underneath. He just needs to go ahead and continue to slide. Go ahead and turn and look. Work your way underneath this receiver because he's standing there wide open. There's an easy throw and catch for a first down. So again, even the flat turn-ins or the go turn-in route, some of these simple concepts work against zone when the Packers linebackers aren't just reading their guys underneath. All right, Packer fans will remember this play. This is it. This is the interception. I want you to watch Evan Williams on this play. He's the safety right here. And they do a pretty good job here of walking everything up, giving the quarterback a good look. Now, they're going to end up in Tampa 2 on this. And it's pretty amazing how they disguise it, right? Looks like 3 deep. Get the snap. Nope, just 4-man rush playing Tampa 2. Now, you get to here, you can see it, okay? This corner right here is too shallow. He needs to be deeper to get some air underneath this throw, but he's not. And here we go. You've got, again, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 under, so to speak, and then the 2 deep. Now, what the Giants don't have is an option for this receiver, because what the safety, Evan Williams right here, is seeing is a smash route by the underneath receiver right here. So he knows that he's getting a 7 route, okay? In our offense, we give this receiver an option, okay? If this cornerback is outside, then he can stab it and then run it to the post. Now look how wide open this play would be had the receiver run the post route here instead of what he's trying to do, which is run the 7 route. The ball's already in the air, and Williams just turns into a receiver instead of the DB, comes up with the big interception at the end, towards the end of the game, which really sealed it for the New York Giants. One thing that does work well against Packers are screens. Now, in this case, if you get them into man-to-man, it always helps, but the Giants got them a couple times on these screens, okay? So this one, you're getting zone, you get the 4-man rush, you get it to the outside. Look at this lane right here that this running back has. I mean, it's unbelievable. The cutback, big play, big tackle by Micah Parsons as well. And when we take a look at the end zone, I just want to show everybody this. Micah Parsons is a good football player, but look at the hustle. Watch him on this play. Okay, he's going to end up looping underneath this tackle, sees the ball thrown, and look at this pursuit. Because right here, there were not a lot of defenders that can get to where he was from all the way on the opposite side. You don't see a lot of guys running football. Look at this. This ball's thrown. He's still tied up with this tackle, breaks himself loose, inside out to the football, chases this thing down, and saves probably another 5 to 10 yards. So that's Micah Parsons, man. He's good. You got to keep an eye out for him. So with this Packers team, Jordan Love using his legs, moving around, makes things happen when he's doing that. And also with Christian Watson, a couple of new aspects that we haven't quite seen out of this offense. Defensively, it's going to be tough on this offense to move the football consistently against these Packers. However, if we can get some discipline in some of these underneath zones, some of these deep crossers, we might have a chance to throw some big plays. And again, with McCarthy and his numbers on the road, if he just keeps doing what he's been doing, Vikings might just come out on top.